Greetings, sunshines and sunnies. It is I, Queen Scarlet, Pimp Sunkiss, coming at y'all right quick, right fast, maybe, with another angelic artistry analysis for Miss Nicki Minaj, or as her mama named her, Onika Tanya Mirage. Child, ain't gonna waste too much time. We're gonna get into some cycles creatively and personally that she is going through right now, what some synchronicities and soul contracts she got going on, and darling, what is coming. More than likely going to be a whole lot more that pops up other than that, but we just shall see. So without further ado, let's get into this read. So for the first layout, we are starting off with show me Onika in her current cycle. Show me Onika in her current cycle. And this is her personal cycle, okay? So just her on a earthly, personal, and internal level, on her own spiritual level and things of that nature. So let's go ahead and get into the cards. For the first card, we have the Chariot. And that Chariot card is tied to, of course, all of the cards laying here, but it's tied to that Queen of Swords in a couple of different ways. So with the Chariot, she is in a state where she is thoroughly ready to leave all of the old things behind, cut off everything and release everything that is no longer serving her, that is no longer conducive to the person that she is trying to become and that she is trying to evolve into, which essentially is the Queen of Swords. So this is on a interpersonal and social level. This is on a relationship level. This is on a personal level as well, and especially on a creative level. Now, the last time I did a reading on her, things about creative and writing blocks were coming up, and it's looking like she's pretty much still in the same cycle as the last time I read her, but she's at the tail end of it now. At least it can be the tail end of it if she does everything that she needs to do, which it feels like she will. But anywho, a major part of this is getting past that creative block. And the creative block has something to do with childhood being tugged in between two different worlds, two different lives, two different people constantly throughout her life. So in order to evolve her creativity and her writing, she has to unpack and do some shadow work concerning her childhood, because there's a lot of things in her childhood that keep repeating themselves in her adulthood in different ways and in different relationships, and she has yet to really put her finger on exactly what it is. And it seems as though she's been going through a lot of rituals, a lot of different healing types of ceremonies and things of that nature. She's been talking to a lot of different spiritual leaders and talking to a lot of people that's more accomplished, maybe even older than she is, getting advice and getting guidance from them, trying to see what she's not doing and what she hasn't thought of. And the thing is, what's coming up here is that it's a lot of people in her life that she's holding on to for dear life that she really needs to let go. And there's a cognitive dissonance that's coming up there because she never saw herself separating herself from those people. And those people are also symbolizations and personifications of different dimensions of herself that she needs to either redirect or that she needs to heal. I want to say dead, but not necessarily dead. It's like, well, some of it needs to be deaded, but that's more so on a mindset level. There's some mindset things that need to be deaded, but on a spiritual level, there are some things about her shadow self that just need to be reformed and redirected and given more discipline. So let's talk about still life with the fruit dish. And the number on that is the number 1. So that's definitely symbolizing new beginnings, which of course when we did things, there's a rebirth that happens after that. Something has to come in and fill those shoes, okay? And so still life with the fruit dish, this is also dealing with the shadow work, the reevaluations, the remembering of things that she's gone through. And some of this is traumatic, looking back on some traumatic things that she experienced growing up and changing her perspective on it, essentially, because there are some perspectives that she forms in order to protect herself, in order to, in her mind, make herself stronger. And maybe at the time it was doing that, and for a long time it has done that. It has made her stronger, it has opened doors for her, but that mindset is not necessarily the truth. Her perspective of the things that she witnessed and experienced growing up, some of her traumatic experiences, are not exactly the truth. They are truths that she warped in order to protect herself, so that she can keep going and keep holding on to some sense of normalcy. Which gets us into this Two of Pentacles, being tugged in between two different worlds, two different types of beliefs, two different truths, if you will. And this came up the last time I read her also, about kind of being tugged and pulled between two different identities. And we know she has her alter egos and things of that nature. And honestly, she has kind of gotten swallowed by those different identities a bit. And she recognizes that, and that's why she's been doing so much to try to balance it out and she's trying to pick a side, but she doesn't necessarily need to pick a side. Internally, she needs to integrate all of her different dimensions. And the way to do that is for her to get to the actual truth of everything that she's experienced and everything that she's been through. Because if she can get to that actual truth, then she will start to see the people around her exactly how she needs to see them, exactly for who they are. And then she can function with them, or not, how she needs to. So let me just talk about the colors before I wrap up this particular part. We have blue, green, and white, which is definitely dealing with the heart chakra, the throat chakra, truth, and a whole lot of divine presences. So there are some people that are in her life that are like, and this is how it's being spoken to me divinely here. There are some demons sent to her, for her specifically to cast out. So what I mean by that is, there are some personified demons, quote unquote, if you will, that have been sent to her. Like I said, personified in human form. So you know how sometimes, they say God will send you an angel in human form to give you messages and lead you to the next point in your life. Well, sometimes you can also be sent anti-angels, if you will. That's what I'll say, more so than demons. You can also be sent anti-angels to help you recognize what a predator looks like. I had to take a moment of silence there. But that's essentially a lot of what's going on with her. There are a lot of personified anti-angels that have been sent to her so that she can recognize it for what it is, call a thing, and cast them out. And she needs to do that not only to heal herself, but to get closer to her actual self, to get back to her actual self, and also to clear up some generational curses and some bad pathologies that have been going on in her bloodline. And we see with the pink and the yellow colors and the orange and that deep like indigo type color there, those things that she needs to clear up and you know, unblock and unpack and everything, those things are taking a toll on her confidence. They are draining her creative abilities, and they are calcifying her pineal gland and calcifying her third eye. So she's not able to pick up and sense the cues of danger around her. She's been becoming more aware of it lately, as you know, she's been lifting her own veil and doing her work and doing, you know, taking the divine guidance that she's been given. But it's still a lot that needs to be cleared out so that it can stop sucking from her lower chakras. And you know, it's a whole lot of shit that's out of whack here. And with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and transition into the next layout. All right, and what we have here is show me Nicki in her current creative cycle. Show me Onika in her current creative cycle. So we're gonna start with the Hanged Woman in reverse. So she has been starting to actively break herself out of her comfort zone and doing things out of her norm, going with the flow, not spazzing out over every little thing that doesn't go her way. She's still been speaking up for herself, but not at the same rate, not with the same force, not with the same tone as she once did. And it's given that her mindset isn't exactly, you know, where she wants it just yet, but that's why she's been actively doing things, because she's kind of like on a fake it till you make it type thing. Like she desperately wants to be out of the stagnation of it all and really get back to feeling like herself. Because, and I see it going from where this cycle, she started doing it because, you know, she wanted the respect back from her fans and such. And not necessarily her fans, but like from the audience in general, from the public. She wants her respect back. She wants, you know, the applause and accolades back that she was once getting. But now her intent has evolved from doing it for external validation to now doing it for internal validation, doing it for herself. She wants to get back to herself. She wants to do it for the sake of gaining the respect and love back for herself and just the enjoyment of being herself. So if you look at this card here, we have, you know, the blue in the background that is ombre up against a black background, which gives me that she's been feeling like she's been stuck in moon energy, like she's been feeling like she's been stuck in the dark. And we also have, again, pink and orange and yellow and peachy type colors. And like I said, all of that is about her getting back to the truth of herself, her true identity. And honestly, her true identity is something that she honestly has no recollection of. There are certain things about her true identity that she has recollection of, but the person that she's trying to get back to, she hasn't been since what's been given to me is like 3 years old. And you don't have like a fully formed memory bank or ability to remember things when you're 3 years old. So what this is telling me is that she's had to be in survival mode since she was like 3 years old. So she's having to go through, and she's gonna have to go through a lot of spiritual work before this cycle is over, a lot of Reiki healing, a lot of spiritual rituals, honestly, and psychological treatments, if you will, even to get through this cycle, like to really get through the other side of this cycle as the person that she's trying to be, because there are certain things that she won't be able to remember without being put in a alternative state, if that makes sense. She will need somebody who specializes in that to literally kind of take control of her energy and put it where it needs to be, so that she can astral project to, you know, those memories of herself and get back to that passion, get back to her truth, and also evolve that into, you know, get into her higher self, if you will. Hope all that makes sense. But so let's also look at the pigmentation of this girl in this card. So this is not like pigmenting her as a white woman. No, this is a matter of her realizing that she's been stuck in the dark because she's yet to realize that she is the light. She has had this thing of seeking, you know, external validation, seeking and putting a lot of value into external things, and she needs to realize that she is the light, so that she can realize that she is the power. She holds the wand that makes everything happen. So with that being said, let's get to Still Life with 3 puppies. Now this has multiple meanings as well. So this has to do with a plethora of opportunities being offered to her, and her actually taking the time to decipher whether they are good opportunities or not. And what I mean by good is if they are on the right frequency. So definitely what's coming through is that Nicki has been getting into spiritual work much more than she did in the past. She's been really on it lately. So she's been more aware of the type of frequencies that she has around her and the type of frequencies of which her money is coming from. So she's not just taking every offer that's being, you know, put on the table. She is taking, you know, second, third opinions from different people. Like I said, people who are smarter than her, more accomplished than her, more wise than her. She's been doing a lot of meditating on it, trying to make sure that her money and her accomplishments are coming from the right sources, the divine sources, that she's on the right spiritual path. Because what I'm getting is that she realized that in the past she was probably only able to enjoy her successes so much because of the frequency of certain things that she was doing, like in the certain frequencies of people that she had around her and that she was working with, and the frequencies of people who she were taking jobs from. And the, you know, like I said, the frequencies of people who she was working with as well. So that's what that imagery is about, with those multiple cups, and then the other dogs over there like lapping in the bowl and things of that nature. Those are representing multiple opportunities being presented to her, and her really taking the time out to evaluate them and make sure that they are coherent with her divine path and her divine realm and her divine higher self. Now what that also is her realizing that there are certain people eating off her that don't deserve to eat off of her, that don't deserve the fruit that the trees have bared, that she planted, has harvested, and watched grow. Okay, she's realizing that there are a lot of people that don't deserve her love, that don't deserve her generosity. She's been realizing that she's been making all the right moves in all the wrong places and doing all the right things for all the wrong people. So it's too many people eating up out of her dish. It's too many people in her space that don't deserve to be there, just draining, just ciphering, just parasiting off of her, and even people that she has given money to. And this is something that she's putting more thought behind as well, where she's spending her money, who she's giving money to, who she's buying things for. Okay, because what she's realizing as well is that where she gives her money is an extension of where she's giving her energy. And there are certain people that she's been giving to, and consequently it ends up draining her energy in different ways that are like mindless, but she ends up feeling it. And in the spiritual rituals and the different treatments or whatever, I don't know if she's been working with a personal shaman, but that's kind of what it seems like. And it seems like this person, you know, does readings on her, and that they do some type of energy work or Reiki work over her, and help her with her reevaluations, and help her with the rebalancing and reformation and redirecting of everything. And it starts to, you know, bring it to her attention, decalcify her pineal gland, and open up her third eye, and open her up to her senses, her emotion, and her intuition even more so. And, you know, like I said, that's where the realizations of her needing to be more mindful of who she's not only receiving from, but also who she's giving to. And I'm also picking up that this is also on a sexual level as well. So we're gonna move on over to the white horse card over to the left. So in that picture, we see one horse getting water from the lake pond situation, a couple of nature around, you know, trees and things of that nature. And we also see a woman riding off on another horse that is reddish orange type color, and she is naked. Y'all, that is representing Nicki. So for a while in this cycle, she has kind of been stuck in a mode of wanting to be saved, wanting a shoe to just drop out of the sky to like fix all of these problems, these internal issues, the creative issues, the energetic issues, and all of that. And she's basically realized and come to the conclusion that she's going to have to save herself. I'm literally hearing Cinderella from the Cheetah Girls as I evaluate this card. She's having to save herself. And she's also realizing that a lot of her heroes are the villains. And so that's what that card is getting into as well. What she realized, what she thought was her white horse, is actually not a savior at all. Okay. And like I said, that she's going to have to be her own savior, and that perhaps it's somebody or something that she's been demonizing and villainizing. And honestly, this could be herself. She could have been dealing with some self-hate issues and not giving herself enough credit, not giving herself the credit, compassion, the pats on the back that she's deserved. She has more than likely been blaming herself for a lot of things that have happened in her life, that have happened to her, that have happened to people that she loves. And those types of beliefs and feelings have been thrown into a loop. Thank God, because she doesn't need to feel that way about herself. Nobody needs to feel that way about themselves, especially if it's not true. And that's what she's been realizing. So once again, redirecting energy, reclaiming her time, reclaiming her blessings, reclaiming her gifts, and giving it back to herself. So her riding off onto that horse is her giving back flowers to those who deserve it. And one of those people, one of those major sources, is indeed herself. And so like earlier what I was talking about, those warped truths that she's been clinging on to that have to be dismantled in order to expose the actual truth, a large part of that is dealing with that self-hate that she's been dealing with, the self-blaming, the self-guilt tripping, the self-shaming and things of that nature. That's ultimately a good majority of what that is getting into. And she's having to strip herself and detach herself from other people's thoughts and opinions so that she can really start to make up her mind about who she actually is and who she wants to be and who she wants the world to see her as well. And that is all going to lead over into the Vincent van Gogh number 4 Starry Night card. All of that is going to work herself into a brilliant masterpiece. And I know that some of this, if you've seen my reading on Candy from The Real Housewives, some of this is quite synchronized with hers. It's not a mistake. It's not a coincidence. I didn't intentionally pull these cards out so I can get on here and say the same shit over and over again. Absolutely not. This is what came out, and it's synchronized like that. You know, they just have some similar things going on, and a part of that is them getting outside of other people's thoughts and opinions, getting outside of what other people are telling them to be, what other people need them to be, what other people want them to be, and them deciding for themselves what they want and need from and for themselves. And that is going to tie itself and transform itself, transmute itself, transfer itself into a brilliant masterpiece. And what I'm getting into here, because this also came up the first time that I read Nicki, it's just taking longer than expected for her next project to come out. But the next project that she puts out is going to be like nothing anybody has ever seen before. It's more than likely going to be an album. It may be something that has a whole lot of visuals, that may have like some type of docuseries type element to it. It may end up being on a lot of different major streaming platforms, and it's going to really warm people up to her. It's kind of going to be her own version. I heard Pink Lemonade when I said that. It's going to be her own version of Lemonade, if you will, like Beyonce had when she came out with Lemonade, and she had the visuals and the poems and all of that attached. But how Nicki is going to do hers is going to be completely from her. Like, much of it is going to be all original work, all her own original writing, her original visualistic ideas, her original. I'm also saying that she may be doing some producing as well and some directing as well. She's going to be giving herself a lot of new major jobs through this project, and it's going to be a masterpiece. Child, it's just gonna be so big and amazing that I really can't even put it in words. But child, I don't really think I have to say no more. All of that to say that everything that she's going through in this cycle, and everything that she is putting into play, the steps that she's making, the questions that she's asking, the people she's reaching out to, the meditation and different coping mechanisms that she's thinking out, they're all working towards a divine purpose that is even going to be extremely beneficial to other people's divine purposes, if nothing but just her being a supreme inspiration to other people, even people that may not have liked her at first. When she releases this project and shows these many different authentic dimensions of herself, because it's going to be somewhat like, well, not even somewhat like, but it's going to be a lot of people saying where, like, you know, she had all these alter egos and things of that nature, and that was good, but now it's like she really like ripped the band-aid off. She pulled the curtain back and let us see where those alter egos came, where even her stage persona came. We're going to learn a lot about her on a soul level, and it's going to, like I said, even inspire people that didn't see it for her at first. She's going to prove a whole lot of people wrong, even herself. And we're going to go ahead and wrap up this particular layout and move on to the next. So before we get into this particular layout, I just wanted to take a second show y'all how the original picture of this layout came out. So for this layout, I asked, what is the truth about Nicki's higher self and what is the truth about her shadow self? Now, the part over there that is somewhat blurred and blinded and faded out, those are the cards that represent her higher self. And I definitely got some messages off of this alone, which is tying into the imposter syndrome, the self-hate, the self-loathing, the self-shame, and all of that. Those are also traits about herself that she deemed as weak or unworthy, or deemed as things that did not serve her. And those are the things now, and why there's so much cognitive dissonance and tug and pull and all of that, because all of those things are things that she now needs, things that she needs to embrace and evolve, and it's hard for her to see them because she had demonized them. So, and the aspects of her shadow self she grew to see as more beneficial, more activating, things that open doors for her, more things that gained her more respect and more honesty, and just overall more protection, safety, and comfortability. And like I said, a major part of this cycle is her getting out of that. Getting out of that mindset of feeling like she has to chop certain parts of her off in order to be worthy and in order to be beneficial and valuable, and getting into the space of realizing that she just needs to integrate these things. And she needs to find all of herself valuable in order to truly be whole and satisfied. So let's go ahead and get into the full clarity of this layout. So here we are, the truths about Onika's higher self and shadow self. So to the left, we have the cards that are representing her higher self, the ones that are going straight up and down, laying on their side. We have the Hierophant on its side. We have the Circus on its side. And we have a Carnival Evening on its side. All of those cards came out on their side. I did not just put them there just because of that. That is how they came out. So over to the right, fans out, we have at the Moulin Rouge, the Fool in reverse, and the King of Pentacles in reverse. All right. So the only card that came out literally straight up and down was the Fool card, and it came out straight up and down in reverse. The other cards came out as they are, kind of tilted to the side like that, and there are definitely reasons for it. And with that being said, I'm going to start off with my evaluation being on the cards of her shadow self. Now, I have mentioned that Nicki is currently in the state of figuring out how to integrate these multi-dimensions of herself, okay, and getting comfortable with them, like recognizing them and all that good stuff. So if certain things come out a little bit stuttery, or I have to repeat certain things and go back to certain things, that's what it is. It's the conflict of energy. It's the conflict of her energy, being the fact that this is something that she's currently having imposter syndrome around, and she's currently having a whole lot of different conflicting of emotions and thoughts, and there is literally an evolution taking place in this sector of her entire being right this moment. So not only be patient with me, but I'm also going to do my best to be still as blunt as possible, but also as tender as possible, because I don't want to disrupt her energy while she's literally in the state of something. You know what I'm saying? If you know, you know. If you don't, you'll find out sooner or later. Let's get into it. So at the Moulin Rouge, this is getting to the aspect of her creative self. And as it concerns how it is in coherence with her shadow self, this is because her creativity and her passion for it kind of started off as a coping mechanism. That's how it's coming up. It started off as a coping mechanism as opposed to something that she was just doing as a passion and as a desire. And so it's been working for her in that way because it makes her a perfectionist. It makes her a person who is constantly thinking ahead, constantly outlining, planning, organizing things to be done for the satisfaction of people who are going to be watching her and interacting with her. But the thing is, it's very easy to burn yourself out by functioning in this way, especially if it's on a creative and performative level. And it's very easy to lose yourself in this as well. Now, the reason why it has taken so long for, you can say, the consequences to arrive as a result of functioning this way, and the reason why it's taking so long for burnout is because, for one, Nicki is a fire sign, and fire signs naturally have a lot of resilient, rejuvenating energy that is seemingly never ending until it just bloop goes out. So have to be cautious with that. There are also some things coming up here, and I'm not trying to diagnose her. This is what's coming up. There's some type of imbalance that is like in an inevitable sense, like a mental health issue. What's coming up is ADHD or ADD. Nicki may have that. She may not even know that she has it. She may need to be evaluated and diagnosed on that. And I'm not saying she's crazy. I'm just saying that that's a particular challenge that is more than likely going on in her physical system and in her mental system, which would also cause her to be the type of person that is on the go, insomnia, late nights, early mornings, burning both ends of the wax, or however that saying goes, just constantly going until it's gone, and likely not even realizing that she's tired until the burnout, until she's about to pass out, like working until she can barely keep her eyes open, partying until she can barely keep her eyes open, writing just constantly until she can barely keep her eyes open, until she can barely stand up, overworking herself, overexerting herself, over giving herself. And so not only could that be coming from the type of sign she is, she's a Sagittarius, which is a fire sign, and the potential ADHD of it all, but it can also be due to an environment that she grew up in. And I talked about this in the previous video and reading that I did on her as well, and she's also talked about it in music and in certain interviews that she's done about having grown up in a home that had domestic violence going on. And that can also make a person very anxious, very on the go, and using different activities as a coping mechanism and as an activity of release, and maybe also as a method or tactic of keeping the abuser off of your ass. And so there's a lot of that going on internally, that and healing around that needs to happen, that has had her creative self on a frequency that is limiting to her actual gifts. While it works on one end, especially as it concerns work ethic and satisfying an audience, it also works against her, because that burnout comes slowly but surely, and it has surely come. And with that, you can get so used to the unhealthy shit working for you that when you get put on your ass and have no choice but to rectify that shit and get it in order, that can be very humbling. It can be very frustrating. It can be very painful, yet beneficial, but painful nonetheless to the ego, because this has been working for you so long. It's the reason why you're so successful. And now, in order to maintain that, or even rejuvenate and evolve that, I have to practically strip all of that away for a minute and put it on ice, and then embrace this whole new thing. And it makes you question, is this what I want to do? Do I really want to do this, or do I just want to leave it alone? Do I just want to leave it as it is? Should I regret everything that I've done? And essentially, no. You just gotta put this on ice for right now, so that you can figure out how this other side of you works, so that you can then introduce both sides to each other. And the better you know them, the better you'll be able to bring them together in harmony. And so with that being said, let's move on to the Fool in reverse. And the background on that card is pink, and that is her favorite color. And pink has been showing up a lot through here. Nicki has a lot of etheric heart chakra energy around her, as well as a lot of throat chakra energy around her as well. So it's definitely divine design for her to use her voice. And one thing, now this is an opinion. This is an opinion that I'm giving right now, an opinion and an observation that I'm giving right now. So stepping out of the spiritual message part, and this is my opinion right here. I have always felt like Nicki is an amazing writer, but her storytelling lacks, because it seems like there's something deep down that she's not willing to go to and bring out in order to put into her writing and into her music. And that is literally what's being brought up here. So now I'm about to transition back into the spiritual message part of it. Transitioning back into the spiritual message part of it right now. The etheric heart. So this card is in reverse. And it's expressing a truth. Expressing and representing a truth about her shadow self, as much as it's representing a part of her shadow self as it is, okay? So the Fool right side up represents her living freely, you know? Basically represents an aspect of what she's trying to get to. Living outside, genuinely and authentically outside of other people's thoughts and opinions. Doing what she wants to do, when she wants to do it, because she wants to. And those same statements replace want with need. But not being dictated by other people and what they want and what they expect, and getting out of trying to do so much and trying to be this and that, and just being. So this card is in reverse because naturally she's supposed to be a rainbow flamingo on some shit with a peacock tail and a lion head, goddamn. She's supposed to be something super extraordinary, unique, and she is. But at some point she chose to be dictated by other people's thoughts and opinions, which turned around and warped and stagnated and limited that aspect of herself, which is why that card is in reverse. And a large part of this is attached to her etheric heart chakra. Her heart is severely broken somewhere. And it's been so hard for her to heal that wound because she's been conditioned to just stuff it down, stuff it down, stuff it down, and act like it's not there. To not talk about it. And it's getting to a point where she is being faced with no other choice but to have to talk about it one way or another. And it's going to hurt like fuck, but it is going to be extremely beneficial to her mind, body, and soul, as well as her kids. This is also expressing how that wound shows up. Because no matter how much you try to stuff something down that needs to be dealt with, it will always show itself one way or another. And this Fool card is also in reverse because she been acting a fool. Now, we done seen some times where she been acting a fool. But there are also perhaps a lot of other times where we haven't seen her act as big a fool as she possibly can. And that damn fool that comes out is that wounded little girl. Because she has tried to stuff it down and she's tried to silence her. So, and other people have done what they felt like they needed to do to silence that hurt little girl. That hurt little girl comes out drastically. And it is nothing pretty. And it is nothing nice. Roman, the alter ego that she has, Roman, is showing up to be the alter ego that represents that broken, hurt, unheard, insufficient feeling little girl. And she's lost sight of how to use that in music. And the reason why she's lost sight of it is because she's practically forced herself to lose sight of it. She has to face it. She has to make the choice to face it. And it's given that she will, but it's going to take a couple of tower moments. And it's already been a couple of tower moments. But the more she doesn't get it, the stronger those tower moments will be. And eventually it will be like something she completely can't ignore. So if you also pay attention in that Fool card, because it's in reverse, look at what would be the bottom right of it. But you see that spherical, yeah, that's the word, a spherical object there, which looks like the sun or the moon. Well, it's an eclipse. It is an eclipse. So it's an eclipse because right now it's kind of unclear of what she's looking at or what she needs to look at. Like, she knows what it is, but because she's been doing it a certain way for so long, it's still kind of difficult for her to recognize it and put her finger on it. She is grasping at dear life not to call a thing, not to acknowledge whatever that wound is for what it is. But the more she does that, those tower moments are going to turn the eclipse into a full sun. And it'll be a full sun moment, more than likely in reverse, because it's going to expose a lot of things that she doesn't want to see and that she doesn't want to face. But she's going to embrace it because she knows that she needs to in order to get everything that she deserves and that she needs. Not just on, and that's what it is too, it's transitioning from her thinking of it in a materialistic and physical sense and down to her embracing it and wanting it and needing it on a spiritual sense as well. And with that being said, moving on to the King of Pentacles card in reverse, which is also tilted. And this because we know that mother is paid. She got bags for days, okay? And she's meant to have that. No matter what happens, mother is going to be paid, okay? Whether she have some mishaps and mishandlings here and there, mother is going to be paid. It's not anything that can happen that will strip her of at least the majority of the money and things that she has earned for herself, because it's written in her stars, it's written in her cards, it's written in her divine path and in her divine design to be thoroughly abundant. But because her mindset and her frequency has been in a particular place, warped, redirect, misdirected, things of that nature, she's more than likely has been experiencing some things where she's either been losing money, making bad investments, people been trying to shortchange her and things of that nature. And like I said, this also goes back to her realizing that she needs to be sure of the people that she's dealing with and where she's taking her opportunities from, and the frequencies that those opportunities are on, and that the people are on who are presenting her with such opportunities. That's also where those types of realizations are coming from, because those types of things have been happening. And the goddess Persephone has been working with her as well. Whether she knows it or not, Persephone has been working with her. And a part of these mishaps and mishandlings have also been done so to help actively detach her from being dependent and overly obsessive over material things and money. So she's been wanting to get out of the ego and wanting to get out of the superficial mindset, and certain things of that nature have been happening in order to actively get her out of that, because she's in a space, she's too heavy in her masculine energy. Her masculine energy is overactive, and not only is it overactive, her perspective of what masculinity is warped. So that's also what's tying into a lot of distortion that's going on with her, and that has been going on with her on an overall level. And it's shown itself in her money, and it's shown itself in her realizing that no matter how much she has around her and how much she's created for herself, she has still felt some level of insufficiency and emptiness. And so she's been trying to fix that. She's been wanting to fix that. And like I said, that's why a lot has been happening to actively get her out of that, because she is stuck in an active frequency. And so because it's so active, eventually these things will have to burn her out, because that's how she understands shit. A lot of the time right now, because of the way that she's been functioning and the way that she essentially is right now, she doesn't grasp the lesson or understand when to stop doing something until she's burnt out from it. And she's had to be burnt out from also, that fussy thing. And that's why she's been handling certain conflicts and things of that nature differently than how she has in the past, because she got burnt out from all the fussing. She got burnt out from all the cussing and arguing and going back and forth with people and going off on people and spazzing over this and that. She got burnt out from it. But she's starting to learn that it's not a matter of her needing to completely shut up and not stand up for herself. She's now coming into how to integrate her masculine and feminine voices. But she's had to put her masculine voice on ice so that she can get to know her feminine voice better. And in order to do that, she had to be completely silent first, so that she can hear herself on the inside, so that she can hear her inner feminine voice and get a understanding of that and get acquainted with that and get warmed up with that. And she still isn't fully warmed up with it, but that's what all of this is all about as well. Her continuing to get warmed up with it so that she can then see how to use that feminine voice, and then how to integrate it with her masculine voice whenever she needs to. And then also understanding that it's a time and place for both of them individually. And with that being said, let's talk about that higher self over there. So over to the left of her higher self, we have the Hierophant first. And this is about her being naturally intuitive, naturally philosophically inquisitive, naturally able to pick out and point out truths and speak the truth when nobody else is. This is also about her being a natural born leader. But this is sideways, however, and it's given that a part of the reason why it's sideways and a part of the reason why she doesn't see so much of the value in it as she needs to and as she will eventually is because she's more than likely a person that grew up telling the truth that nobody wanted to hear, so everybody wanted to silence her. She had a very strong and powerful voice that she kind of learned how to shrink and how to alter in order to make other people feel comfortable. And so those types of things have all played a part into, and that makes sense of how she functions now, because it started off as something active that she was doing, you know, in order to get by, in order to get through the day, in order to get through this moment, in order to get through this interaction and move on to the next thing, until eventually it became her identity and it became how she functioned. And subconsciously she started to see less and less value in who she actually is and the spiritual gifts that she's actually been given. And a large part of this is a part of her being an empath, a part of her being able to pick up on energy and read energy and read people and situations as well. And so with this particular aspect of her being distorted by her perception, which started with other people's perception of her that they projected onto her, this has played into the whole doing all the right things in all the wrong places. So she has mistaken a lot of demons for angels. And like I said, ended up demonizing herself and other people most like her. And that leads us to the circus card, which is Jorge Surratt. Not sure if I say his name correctly, but that's how I say it. And it has the number 2. So this is about duality and, once again, balance. So this is concerning her work play balance, or her creative life and personal life balance per se. So this is a thing, this is again like getting back to that on the go thing. But in this particular aspect, especially being the fact that it's on the side of her higher self, a part of this is divine design, of course, because it's meant for her to be an artist, it's meant for her to be a mom at this point, and it's meant for her to have all of these different roles that she plays for everybody, right? And essentially that she, you know, needs to play for herself as well. The thing is the balance aspect, the coherency, the harmony, and also the desire. And the desire is where it's lacking. The creativity and the performative aspect has become a job, and that's why it is sideways. That is also why it is the circus in particular, because it has become like a circus, juggling all of these different things, all of these different hats, the scheduling for her kid, scheduling for being a wife, scheduling for being a rapper, scheduling for being whatever the fuck else that she has going on in her personal life. And also the scheduling of self-care, the actual acts and activities of self-care. So that's why it's sideways, because she's been struggling to find the balance, and because the dysfunction has worked for so long, and the just ripping and running and jumping from one thing to the next has worked for so long, it's been a struggle to get everything organized, because now it's going to take some extra work and some extra attention in order to figure out how it even got this way. And especially with the constant adding of new additions like kids, and also new employees, new additions to her team, and also new additions to her family outside of the one that she's created created for herself. And speaking of which, this is to trigger her to tap into her alchemist energy. She has a really strong alchemist energy of being able to make something from nothing, being able to touch things and turn it into gold. And so she's going to have to tap into that in order to get a hold of her schedule, in order to get a hold of her priorities, and like I said, essentially to get a hold of herself. And a poem for colored girls is coming to mind. It is Lady in Yellow, No More Love Poems. And the particular line at the beginning, I believe she says, "I've lost it, touch with reality. I thought I was doing it, but I was so stupid I got hurt." I can't remember exactly if those are all of the exact words, but I know and love that poem. But that's the poem that's coming to mind for Nicki in this particular aspect. She's looked up like I have lost it. I have lost control of all of this somehow. Did I give it away? Did somebody take it? How do I get it back? Well, she has to take back control, and like I said, tap back into that alchemist energy of hers to create it for what she wants it to be. Create the schedule that she wants and needs. Take back control. Stop doing things with the intent and motivation of satisfying someone else, or satisfying or trying to appease someone else. Do it for the satisfaction and for what you need, for your own values and your own morals. And that's what's going to help it become more satisfying and enjoyable and fun like it used to be, and even more than it used to be, as opposed to how it's become such a hassle and become such a drain and irritating process. And that's also leading us into the final card for this layout, a carnival evening. And it also has a similar energy, but this is on the leisure side, on the playful side, and this is like thoroughly in the inner child, because she's lost sight of what she enjoys. She's lost sight of what makes her happy and what makes her feel a thrill for life, like a really passion and girly side of life. She's kind of lost sight of that, and she's been really grasping at straws trying to get back to that. And that's also plays into certain people that she surrounded herself with. She sees certain things about them that remind her of parts of her that she used to be, and parts of her that she used to really be tapped into. But the thing about that is, that's where that distortion thing comes in at, because she's attaching herself to some of those people, and some of those people are representing to her what she needs to dead and what she needs to reform her thinking about, because she, like I said, has put too much value in things that really aren't right, on the right frequency. And so that's a part of what's tying into attracting certain leeches and people who just are kind of misery loves company. And I have no pinpoint on exactly who those people are, because it's definitely more than one person. But yeah, so This is also about certain activities that she more than likely has still been engaging in that she needs to either cut back on or stop completely and find new things. And she has found some new things, but there are also like a plethora of other new things that she needs to do. Like she needs to take a trip or something. That's what's coming up. She needs to take a trip. And I'm also hearing that she needs to be an audience member for a change. She needs to go to some shows. She needs to go see some shows on Broadway. She needs to go to somebody else's concert and watch from the crowd, however safe way she can. But she needs to find a way to play an audience member for a while, be an audience member for a little bit, so that she can see life and see her craft from a different perspective, from a perspective that she hasn't thoroughly seen it from in a very, 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 very long time. And it's going to really open up some doors in her soul to a whole lot of new shit. It's going to make it apparent to her what she's been missing. It's going to lead her in some directions that she didn't even know she wanted or needed. She's going to end up meeting some people that she didn't even know she really wanted to meet. And these are some casual, like regular people, both in the United States and also abroad. And some of these are also like some underdog, high profile people. And I'm also seeing that she may be getting back into acting. But I'm going to hold that thought because this is about the truths of her higher self. In which those didn't come out, by mistake. Those truths didn't come out by mistake, and they are still attached to her higher self. But let me get back to specifically how those particular aspects are tied to her higher self. So, about the acting. Okay? About the acting. She's been doing a lot of acting casually in her regular life when that's something that she should be doing as her craft. That's something that she should be doing as a part of her career, more than she has done it and more than she does, more than she goes after. Like she may already be doing this kind of sorta. It may have already come to her in a very, very recent time, or somebody mentioned it to her and it's just been dangling in her mind. Like she probably saw somebody somewhere recently and they said, hey, so when I'm gonna see you in a movie or something, when I'm gonna see you in a TV show, because I know you still got it. I know you know what I'm saying, originated, acting and whatnot. I know you a theater kid and all of that good shit. And it's not an encouragement to her to put the pen down. Absolutely not. Like, no, that's not what that is. This is her expanding her horizon. And that's why Beyonce keep coming up. Getting on her Beyonce shit. Getting on her Beyonce shit in the way of putting her hands and feet into some other creative endeavors, into some different types of art. I'm also seeing that Nicki can also probably draw. She probably has some drawing or painting abilities as well that she needs to tap back into. And all of those things are going to end up, if and when she realizes it, has whatever experience that is that triggers those epiphanies to lead her back into those directions, to start auditioning again, to start going to different theater events and acting and film events and brunch with this and that actress and actor in the game to get advice and mentorship, and getting into these different acting classes hosted by this and that person, you know what I'm saying, and getting into just drawing casually again and presenting her artworks, her different types of artworks that aren't just rap and music. Whoa, this shit is about to be amazing. So with that, we just popped the top on a amazing truth about her higher self. And her higher self is to be multifaceted, multidimensional, and multi-rolled. Okay, so that's how she kind of ends up getting lost in the sauce of her different identities, because she has so many different talents, gifts, and dimensions that she's been put in so many different positions where people have made her feel like she has to choose. And while she still has, you know, both sang and rap throughout her entire career, and also done both hardcore rap and pop music throughout her entire career, but she, even though she's done all of that and been, you know, shown so many different aspects of herself, she still found herself chopping off certain parts of her gifts that she didn't feel would be convenient. And that has tied into some of the unraveling that we have seen, some of the lashing out. Some that is also like a rebellion, like an internal rebellion that ends up projecting itself outwardly, because she's been suppressing so much. And a lot of what she's been suppressing are her different creative gifts, as well as the other things that I mentioned. But it's just so very interesting to me that a large aspect of it as well is her also suppressing other creative gifts that she has, like acting, probably directing, like I said, with whatever that masterpiece is that she's going to be creating with her next project. You know, I mentioned something about her potentially getting into directing, but also there's a painting or drawing, something that she is able to do with her hands. May even be sculpting or something of the sort, or mixed media or something of the sort, but something that she is able to do with her hands creatively, that is also a divine gift, that also has spiritual elements attached to it, that she has suppressed, and that she has like shrank and like thrown under a rock because somebody or some people made her feel like it wouldn't be safe for her to engage in that, or that it wouldn't be smart for her to engage in that, or that she wasn't good enough, or that she wasn't strong enough. And that's so crazy. That's why she's so tossed up in her identities, and that's why it's so much imposter syndrome, because she presents herself as such a confident, strong, and empowered and full woman, but she still feels fragmented because she's still chosen to fragment herself in certain ways. Even though she's been super outgoing, super extraordinary, super unique, she still has been suppressing other unique aspects of herself, which has had her in a tizzy, which has had her conflicted and tugged and pulled. And it makes so much sense. But I'm not going to dwell in this. I'm going to come up off of it definitely, so that she can have this part of her energy back, so that she can sort through it herself and do what she needs to do. And we're going to move into the rest.